You know that in 2025, the tax laws are going to be rewritten, all the tax laws. Now, President Trump is either going to extend his that he's put in place in 2017, or we're going to make some changes to that because the debt has risen so much since we did.
Well, if the easy stuff is this complicated, then how difficult is the hard stuff? We're talking about your financial well-being, the financial strategies and moves and the complexities, the rules and requirements that are involved with those here today on Financial Focus with John Kuykendall. Now, welcome into the program, ladies and gentlemen. John is the founder and CEO of GulfCoast Financial Services. They have been named best of the best in financial services by the readers of the Lake City Reporter the last 10 straight years and running. And there is a reason why. They handle the easy stuff and the complicated stuff and put together a plan so that you don't have to worry about most of that stuff, that you can just relax and enjoy your retirement. But John, a lot goes on behind the scenes because even the easy stuff is a little complicated, as we'll talk about today.
Well, Peter, I used to think that Medicare was the real complicated thing because you had the Part B and the different components, and you had penalties if you did certain things. And Social Security, of course, if you draw too early and make too much, there are penalties there. But these IRAs, these qualified accounts, thanks to the Secure Act, which we got, I guess, the first one, in 2020? January of 2020. And now we've had the Secure Act 2, the Secure Act. It's so complicated, Peter, that it's difficult for us to understand if I die, who's going to get my money? I know that, but how long are they going to have to take it and how are they going to take it? And it's just really very complicated. And it's just a total mess.
Yeah.
But it was caused because we put all of this money since the 80s into these 401ks and these IRAs. And now we're sitting with trillions of dollars that nobody's paid taxes on.
Yeah.
And
it really emphasizes, John, that the government can and will. They've got the ability to control and change the rules. And sometimes when they change the rules, even they don't know how they've changed the rules, right? The Secure Act, I remember being one of those bills where they said they had to pass it to understand what was in it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing was so complicated and so long that they really didn't understand it until about 8 months later. And then they came out at the end of that year with Secure Act 2 because we had to make changes to it. But we've got all this money that's tax deferred. The government wants their money. They need that tax money. And so they figured out a way that we have to take our money out quicker so that we can pay the taxes sooner. And it's gotten really, really complicated as far as how I take my money out. Now, an IRA or a qualified account is anything that's tax deferred. In other words, I took the money and I got a tax benefit for it now. And so it's either a 401k or a 403b, 457, or an individual retirement account. Those are all the qualified accounts. Now, a Roth IRA, I don't get any tax benefit for it now, but it grows tax-free. But now the IRS has come out and said that if I die and I pass it on to my beneficiaries, unless it's my spouse or one of the qualified beneficiaries, which are too complicated to talk about on this show, they have to take it out over 10 years. Mm-hmm. And the one thing about the Roth was before we could just keep it deferred forever. And it would go from generation to generation. There's a lot of complications here, Peter, and there's no simplistic answer.
No, but that's probably what partly they were trying to avoid, right? Is tax-free money carrying and over and growing too long. They want that money back in taxable circulation, John. I mean,
yeah.
They are running a continued deficit in spending over and above what we bring in. So that's another reason why I think taxes are so complicated. We've got to think about taxes 10, 15, 20 years into the future and beyond and what could happen with them and then meet the requirements, the rules and regulations now.
The problem is, Peter, is we don't know what's going to happen. You know that in 2025, the tax laws are going to be rewritten, all the tax laws. Now, President Trump is either going to extend his that he's put in place in 2017, or we're going to make some changes to that because the debt has risen so much since we did those tax laws in 2017. He probably is going to have to make some changes that are going to make us pay taxes sooner. But certainly the Secure Act has created that because when I do these required minimum distributions, these IRDs, as they're called, RMDs, I'm going to have to pay taxes on that money as it comes out. So, this year, anybody this year is starting, is eligible for a RMD. 73 is where we go this year, and it increases to age 75. And once we start those, we can't stop them. I can say I don't need the money, but I got to do something with it because I got to pay taxes on it. So it's just, it creates, how do I keep that money? What do I do with that money when I get it? And how does it figure into my overall tax plan?
Yeah.
That's the one thing we try to do here with our tax planning is looking at those RMDs, looking at where you are and figuring out how it's going to affect Medicare, Social Security, and everything else we have.
Well, one thing is for certain, John, and that is when you defer and delay paying taxes, when you put money into one of these qualified retirement accounts, you enter into a partnership with the Congress and the IRS, and they do get to determine the rules. They get to change the rules. They are absolutely the managing partner of that business. So we've got to navigate the litany of requirements and mandates regarding our dollars and make sure that we don't mess anything up. And again, this is supposed to be the easy part. Retirement is supposed to be easy, but with all of these rules you've got listed, it seems rather complicated. And John, I think that this is where, we sort of bring the point of the program home. It makes sense to work with somebody who's seen this, done this, and spends their full-time efforts in this arena. The value of having an advisor help you navigate these things with this litany of rules can't really be understated.
Well, Peter, it used to be fairly simple, but anymore it's gotten very complicated. Now, if I'm going to do a Roth conversion, I have to do my required minimum distribution before I can do my Roth conversion. So if I just converted and then said I'm going to take my R&D later, you're in violation of the regs.
Yep.
But people don't know that. That's not really spelled out. I mean, you have to be an advisor, somebody who studies this stuff to understand that. Now, I could have 5 accounts and have 5 required minimum distributions. Do I have to take 5 different checks, or can I aggregate and take it all out of one account?
I imagine, John, as with many things, the answer, it depends, right?
Well, I would hope that I could combine that. My 401k, I have to take the money out of it if I'm RMD eligible, required minimum distribution. But all my IRAs, my annuities, I can lump those and take it out of one account. So there are certain requirements, Peter, and you got to understand which one's which and how you're going to be able to calculate that required minimum distribution. There is a penalty if you don't take your required minimum distribution. It used to be 50%. Now I believe it's 10%. And so that helps us. But I got to tell you something. The IRS would find that 50% penalty faster than if you owed them money and you hadn't paid them yet.
Well, I know on one end of the spectrum before 59 and a half, John, people would do almost anything not to have to tap into those retirement accounts and encounter that 10% penalty. Same is true in RMDs. If we can avoid costing ourselves 10%, we should do everything to do that in our power, not encounter that penalty. So, John, again, a whole lot of rules on aggregation here of
Oh, yeah.
RMDs specifically. Yes, you can aggregate out of IRAs. No, you cannot aggregate out of 401ks. If you've got an IRA and a 401k, you've got to take an RMD out of both. If an RMD is required, it is absolutely the first money out of an account within a given year now. Spouses can't aggregate their RMDs. Inherited IRAs, those cannot be aggregated. So again, just a litany of different requirements here on what is supposed to be the simple stuff. And I'm sure you've seen mistakes here, but you help your clients navigate this once you are helping them manage those assets.
Yeah, we do, Peter. And one of the things too is that we have to think about is the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries now are required, most of them are to take this money out over 10 years. They're going to be taking it out over their highest earnings probably in their cycle.
Yeah.
So that's going to create more taxes for them, more penalties for them because they could step into a higher tax bracket. So we're going to help them with that. We're going to look at that. We're going to figure out where they are tax wise and hopefully help make some suggestions as to how we can save taxes.
Or now, John, even somebody who is inheriting an IRA from their parent and subject to their own set of RMDs, right? There's probably a
Yeah,
sweet spot there with in the 70s where that can hit us simultaneously. So again, causing and costing unnecessary taxation. So we've got to know and understand not only how to navigate it when we get there, but John, plan ahead. The proactive planning of this is vitally important as well.
oh, yeah, Peter. And as you said earlier, not only that, but when you think about a spouse, if my spouse dies, should I take an inherited IRA or should I convert it over to my own IRA? There are situations for both where one may not make sense and one may penalize us because we don't really know the regs.
Yeah.
And so those are the things, Peter, that we have to look out when we're dealing with this.
And a lot of these, John, is kind of a situation of once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't put it back in, right? A lot of the decisions with retirement dollars are irrevocable.
That's right. Once you make a decision, you're stuck. So we have to figure out what we're going to do with the best decision to go forward. I can't include it as an inherited IRA and then later convert it to my own IRA. I mean, that's not going to work. So the decisions we make, we have to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And if I do this, what's it going to affect? And if I do that, what's it going to affect? And what's the best thing for me?
Yep. One of the best things, opportunities that we have, John, within the tax code and giving purpose to our money is through charitable giving. Now, here is an opportunity with those IRAs, specifically for those who are otherwise encountering RMDs, required minimum distributions.
Yeah, Peter, you can give up to $110,000, 108,000 annually to a qualified charity out of your IRA, and it will count for the required minimum distribution. So depending if you need the money or don't need all the money or need part of the money, there are ways that we can look at it and figure out what's going to be best for you tax wise. But what we're encouraging all of our clients, because we have this large standard deduction still through this year, don't know if it'll be thereafter, but right now it is. Most of the people aren't itemizing. So if you aren't itemizing, it makes a lot of sense for us to take your charitable donations out of your IRA and take those directly from the custodian to the charity without it touching your hands. You can't get the check. And then that will count for your part of your distribution. So we can, in some cases, eliminate the required minimum distribution, or at least the dollars we're giving, we're getting some benefit for them because we're not able to take them off our taxes.
Yeah, great opportunities here, ladies and gentlemen, but also a lot of complexity, a myriad of rules, a litany of regulations, potential taxes, penalties that you could encounter if you do things wrong. John, simply stated, you want to enjoy retirement and let the easy stuff be easy, not so complicated? Who wants to navigate all of this difficulty on their own?
Yeah, Peter, it's too much. I mean, constantly they're changing the regs. Constantly they're changing what we're doing, how we're doing it. You had to take, if you were doing a Roth conversion or you took the money out of the IRA, you had to do your required minimum distribution first. That's brand new. That just came out this last year. So, there are a lot of things that happen. And if we don't get the latest information, we're going to make a mistake.
Yeah. And again, don't want to run into any unnecessary taxes or penalties. We want to make smart, well-informed moves, be strategic. So it's both understanding the rules for moves we're making now and planning ahead for our financial future, for our goals effectively. That's why it does pay to have an experienced, qualified professional. And John, why you make the offer for not only the complimentary review, the strategy session, but to actually put together that financially focused written retirement plan.
Yeah, the income plan, Peter, that we talk about on this show all the time is really something that everyone needs, because what we'll try to do is minimize your taxes, maximize your return, and give you the most income that you can get during retirement, because we're going to need every dollar we can get, Peter.
Yep. Just another reason why quitting is for winners, but retirement is not for wimps. I always like to throw in that book title, John.
Oh yeah, Peter, and we'd love to give you a copy. If you want to give us a call, we'd be more than happy to get you a copy of that book out.
We'll give a call, 386-755-9018. That is 386-755-9018. Get in touch with John and the team from GulfCoast Financial Services. Request a copy or drop by the office there at GulfCoast Financial to get a copy in your hands of John's great book, Quitting is for Winners, but Retirement's Not for Wimps. John, thanks for walking us through this complicated stuff that's supposed to be easy.
I'm going to have to take a nap, Peter. I think I'm tired.
We appreciate the time, John. I'll let you get to it.
All right, bud. Thank you.
Take care.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities, Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through GulfCoast Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. GulfCoast Financial Services, Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities, Inc. or Kovac Advisors, Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions. GulfCoast Financial Services, Inc. has been named as Best of the Best since 2015 in the category of Best Financial Advisor in the Lake City, Florida area. The award was based on receiving the most votes in this category from a survey offered and tabulated by the Lake City Reporter. No direct or indirect compensation was provided to the Lake City Reporter and/or any raters, and the award is not contingent on future direct or indirect compensation offered to the newspaper and/or raters. Portfolio performance is not a criterion, and voting is open to any readers of the newspaper.